If you're like me, you grew up in the freaking golden age of video games. I myself spent my youth playing me some good old SNES and PS1. And sadly, it would seem as if these gems that I enjoyed as a child would eventually be forgotten within the vastness of time and space. But now, thanks to digital distribution, we can now enjoy these classics on our current consoles thanks to the PS1 Classic service by Sony and the Virtual Console service by Nintendo. Regarding the Virtual Console service, it started on the Wii. And as we all know, the Wii doesn't quite have the most traditional of controller layouts. To combat this, the company in question also released the Classic controller in order to play some of these games. Now, while I love these controllers to death and I adore the original, more on that later, I still long to play these games with a Super Nintendo controller, the original. No ZLZR, no analog sticks, little smaller dog bone design, Super Nintendo. Interestingly, Japanese Club Nintendo members actually had an opportunity to get an official Super Famicom Classic controller for their Wii. However, I'm not in Japan for one, and they were very hard to get, and they fetch outrageous prices on eBay now. So I was very pleased when I found out there was a much cheaper alternative, the TTX Super Famicom controller. Sure, it was third party, but hey, it looks like a Super Nintendo controller, count me in. That was my first mistake. Instead of a retro awesome classic controller, what I got was a $20 piece of garbage that I'm sure would have more use beating the manufacturer over their head with. So let's commence the review. Like I said, the controller strikes a resemblance to the Super Famicom controller, sans the Nintendo logo. But speaking of logos, there's like no logos at all on this thing. Well, the start and select buttons have like inscriptions right there, but the only way you know what company made this piece of filth is this tiny sticker right there on the back. I'm sure they were banking on the kid who got this to tear the sticker off before even thinking about it twice. And that's really it for appearances. Now, as far as the buttons are concerned, they're pretty lackluster. The shoulder buttons don't even feel similar. The L button has like a mush to it, and the R button is more clicky. The D-pad is stiff. Start and select, they feel more similar, but select is harder to push down. And the face buttons they're okay, but they look like they're about to fall out any given second. But the most important thing of all, does it work? Well, allow me to show some footage of me playing Super Mario World while using this thing. So there you have it. I'll give this controller one thing though. If you thirst for a challenge in even the simplest of games, this is the controller for you. While I might have got a bad controller, judging from the reviews, I don't think I'm the only one with this problem. Cheap, buggy, and hardly working at all, this rotten piece of circuitry is best left to rot away in your longest of lost memories. Also, for you homebrew enthusiasts, this controller doesn't work at all.